Good evening, everyone, and welcome once again to RRTV's live and exclusive coverage of the Monday Night Lights. This week, coming to you live from Snetterton in the UK. Recently added track, of course, in the past few seasons to iRacing. And once again, looking forward to a fabulous race here. I'm your host, Alex McKellar, and once again, joining me in commentary is Mr. Tim Gorkrocher. Tim, what are you expecting from the racing here tonight, mate?
G'day, Alex. Thanks for having me back again. It's been a couple of weeks since we've commentated together, but Snetterton is a good fun track. Plenty of passing opportunities. Tough little infield section, but I'm looking forward to a good night of racing, of course. Skip Barber's bringing the excitement to Monday nights on RRTV.
Absolutely. It's great to be back once again. Great to have you back too, mate. We're sitting at a strength of field tonight about 2,876 or 75, which puts us well and truly in about the top five. Yeah, top five for the week, which is great once again. It's a great platform for the local club members, of course, and for the international folks that join us. Also, a great opportunity to pick up some much-needed championship points, and great for the viewers at home. I see a few are in the chat already, so great to have you guys once again. Now, the Monday Night Lights, of course, is a competition that we run using the official season races, but on the side we run a competition of our own. And here are the standings after 10 weeks of racing. Mr. Hawken Grebstead in P1, Bill Fraser in P2, and Simon Dopp, who's a regular in the second split, but looks to have cracked it for a run in the top split tonight. Tim, he's rounding out the top three. Very tight at the top with 4 drop rounds. We've got 2 drop rounds, or 2 rounds left to go, of course, after this week. This is the penultimate round, I should say. And judging from the scores overall, looking at all the races and the drop rounds in play, Hawkins obviously in the driving seat, but Bill Fraser with 2 good results this week and next looks like he could take it out in his maiden season, Tim.
Yeah, it's pretty close up top. Hawkon really can't afford to have a bad result, and Bill, of course, I mean the same applies for him. But based on recent pace, I'd say Bill would feel pretty confident. He has missed a couple of races. Not that he hasn't scored points when he has raced, but just had other things going on. Obviously, he's from the UK, and the timing isn't super for him. It's not 8:30, 9 o'clock at night like it is here in Australia. So I'm sure Bill's ready for a good showing. Hawkon too, and both are great drivers. Keen to race close, show each other a lot of respect as well. And I'm sure those two will be up the front of the grid tonight and ready to duke it out.
Yeah, absolutely. Returning Monday night's regular. Also, Enzo Cantor's joined us again tonight. Fantastic to see him back on track. Apologies, folk. That'd be the wrong button. He's back out on track tonight, which is great to see. He's, of course, won this Monday Night Lights series and the official series a handful of times each. So looking forward to seeing how he wrangles this circuit tonight, Tim.
Yeah, Enzo's got plenty of pace, and obviously not higher up the rankings, having missed a number of rounds earlier in the season with work commitments. But the Italian driver is extremely quick, and of course we'll take it to Bill and Hawk on tonight too. But I think those three are going to come pretty close to having this race all to themselves. I think they're just a little bit above the rest of the field tonight, but it's an interesting track, plenty of slipstreaming opportunities. So we'll see what happens, and hopefully they can make a good little battle of it up front. Be good if they could drag a whole heap of guys with them too. But I think my tip for tonight's Bill. He's just seemed to have got the Skip Barber absolutely down pat at the moment. He really knows what's going on with that car.
Yeah, certainly. I don't know if he's done much of it prior to this season. I know he does a bit of karting in real life, but he's certainly shown that he's a dab hand in the Skip Barbers. And although he's provisionally just behind by a fraction to Enzo in the first qualifying lap, of course, the guys here will get 2 laps. He'll be looking to jump ahead of Enzo being the number 1 rated car as well. So Bill's certainly done his I rating good this season, whether it be in the skippies or all round. He's certainly bagged a hatful of that as well to get himself ranked. Of course, the cars here are numbered 1 through 17 in this field, based on their skill rating, which is based, of course, on where they finish in the different races. And a high strength of field like this tonight's worth more of those skill points. So the better you do tonight, the more points you get for your official season and for your I rating, Tim.
Yeah, that's correct. And as you said, a good number of points on offer tonight that all count towards the official series. So, as you mentioned earlier, the MNL series is something the Aussies like to run themselves, but every point counts towards the official series too. And a lot of the guys who compete take that quite seriously, and it's not just racing for fun and those sort of things. It's racing against the best skip Barber drivers in the world, and everyone rocks up every week just about at some point across the week, excuse me, to battle it out and gain as many points as they can. But really, it's your highest race that counts, and the more races you do, the I guess the average points are taken rather than the highest score. So a night like tonight is a good opportunity for a driver to do 1 or 2 official races a week, perhaps the race prior, and get a really good haul of points if everything goes to plan.
Yeah, absolutely correct. Well, interestingly, Mr. Håkon Grebstad, our current series leader, has shown his hand. He's jumped to the top of the leaderboard ahead of both Enzo Cantor and Bill Fraser. We saw Bill Fraser cross the line. I was waiting to see if he could better his time, but no, he couldn't. And Håkon Grebstad, with a startling second lap as he drifts it around in celebration, has pulled off a great lap. He's got some pace here, as it turns out. Looking to seal up his championship if he can. Of course, if he gets some good points here to get overwrite some of his results in the season, again, drifting it around the track, he could perhaps clinch this, irrespective of Bill's results. Although if Bill gets a good one, look, he's going to tighten up that gap. It'll certainly make it interesting for the season decider next week, Tim.
Yeah, well, and I was on board with Bill as he did his second qualifying lap, and he picked up an off track early in the piece, but continued on his merry way, although I'm sure he's kicking himself. But looks like he and Enzo actually picked up off tracks through their second laps. So perhaps not showing their true pace, but Håkon put it all together, obviously, and a great job with a 2:04.438 to snatch pole today. Good work.
Yeah, fantastic work. Speaking of pole, why don't we run through our grid for this evening as the guys start thinking about taking the grid. We have, starting round 11 here at Snetterton Racing Circuit this evening, Håkon Grebstad, fantastic pole for Håkon there with a 2:04.439. Enzo Cantor in P2 from Italy. Bill Fraser, UK and I in P3. Those three will certainly look to make it a good race at the front. John Scholz, naturalised Australian from South Africa. He's in P4. What a fantastic qualifying run from John Scholz there. Team Venom Racing. Jared Irvine in P5 from Australia and New Zealand. Club Anthony Catt from UK and I in P6. James Hauser from the US in 7th. Tom Barry once again joining us from Monday Night Light in P8. Kevin Henderson, regular of the Monday Night Light series in P9. Simon Dobb, currently P3 in the championship, the Monday Night Lights championship, that is, in P10. George Contreras Jr. in P11. P12 is Joseph Falcomado, an on and off regular to the Skippy Racing here in the ANZ Club. Mick Gray, another stalwart of the Monday Night Lights in P13. Brad Parkin doing well this season once again in P14. Ben Snell, surprisingly not set a time tonight in P15. He'll be looking to charge through this field. And Isaac Olive in P16. Rounding out our field, once again not setting a time as is often his custom, Jason Willman. Now, as the guys look to take the grid, I might just grab a camera shot, and if we've got time, just take a quick look at the race info here. 12 laps around here, 13 turns, just over 4.5 k's a lap, with a total race distance of 57 kilometres, air temp at 18 degrees. More importantly, the track temp at 24, which is pretty cool. Not surprising here in the UK, but certainly makes for good racing conditions, Tim.
Yeah, it does. Look, track's not too hot, overcast today, so plenty of grip on offer. And for us, that means plenty of passing opportunities, and there's heaps of them here at Snetterton. So it's going to be a good night of racing.
as the guys get underway here. Hawkon leading them into the first corner here down at Riches, I should say. It's not Riches, it's Riches. He's leading out this extraordinary field here tonight. Everyone looking like they might get through cleanly so far, because it's quite a sweeping turn here. You run the risk of running wide, but then you're on your way down. They'll start getting interesting, no doubt, at the hairpin for the first time.
Yeah, busy back part of the pack two on board with Henderson personally, and everyone's running too wide backwards to him, and he's in P9 at the moment. But all through pretty cleanly, which is nice, as Håkon Grebstad maintains control from Enzo Cantor, Bill Fraser, and John Skoltz holding out P4.
Yeah, the guys putting on a good show so far, nice and clean, no dramas to speak of thus far, which is great to see. I might not have trading paints on tonight, so some of the liveries might not quite be in order. I'll try and fix that up and see how we go. See if those guys who no doubt put a lot of effort into their liveries, see if they can't get them on the big screen tonight. Jumping up to the front now, Håkon Grebstad with a hard-charging Enzo Cantor right on his tail as Enzo's paint scheme, of course, kicks in at the timeliest of points. With Bill Fraser just that half second behind. John Skoltz, fantastic drive from Skoltzy. He's tucked in P4 there as Enzo looks to make up the inside of at the end of the Bentley straight into Brundle. Håkon not willing to risk it at this point in the race, as through this challenging section, through that right-hander there at Nelson, and they've got through cleanly this time and making a race of it still, Tim.
Yeah, no, they are, and tough little group of corners there. Enzo obviously got through very cleanly, Håkon too, but super easy to make a mistake, and it's a good opportunity to gain time, but you have to be clean, and if you're not, you're going to overshoot that tiny bit. It's just going to cost you on the exit. And forget what they call that corner, the dip, the bowl, whatever it may be. The
Coram?
Bomb hole.
The bomb hole, yeah, just after Nelson in the bomb hole of the Coram. Yeah, that's
an
right.
exciting corner in one. You've really got to get right, and if you compromise your run out of Nelson, it's going to cost you a whole lot of time. So
they went three.
A bit of excitement at the front, though.
Yeah, they went 3 wide through the turn one. They've gone almost 3 wide again into Montreal, the Montreal hairpin there. Oh, Håkon showing the nose up the inside of Bill Fraser, says, "This is my championship, son. I'm ahead. I want to keep ahead in this," but Bill Fraser making it better. They raced making the better of it. They made some real, or Håkon in particular, made some really smart decisions through that first lap, letting Enzo through one of the most challenging corners you're likely to see, and they got a break from what is now Anthony Catt in P4, making his way past John Skoltz at some stage in that first lap. But now this battling 2 and 3 wide through the different corners is letting the others get back into it, Tim.
Yeah, that's correct, and it's going to be pretty easy for Anthony Catt, who's only, I'm going to say, he's 3, 4, 5 tenths down. He's well and truly within draft range, and he's going to hang on to the back of this group as they run down the Bentley Straight. And he'll be pretty happy at this point in the race. As I said early on, I think these 3, Enzo, Håkon and Bill, will run away with it, but not looking like that's the case at the moment.
No, that's right. And they're in essentially in a 6-car draft train now, this front 5, or 6 cars with Jared Irvine on the end of that first 6 cars, still well within draft range, just 8 tenths, although he looks like he might be dropping off a little bit now. John Skoltz really well ensconced in that top 5 pack, although it's really all up at the front at the moment. These front 3, I think it's up to them whether or not they want to race for the rest of the race, or they can, keep battling and keep the rest of the guys in it, because they're right in it now. Jared Irvine, as I said, he's had a struggle through the last corner. That might cost him that draft, but John Skoltz racing smart and hard, and he's tucked in behind Anthony Catt up this front straight now as they head into turn 1 at the start of lap 3.
Yeah, I think Skoltz is going to be pretty happy with P5 at the moment. I certainly would be, considering, look, his quality time wasn't, it was 6 tenths off the leader, and you'd think that's enough for the front guys to get away pretty comfortably, but he's hanging in there really nicely, and obviously Anthony in front of him running right up the underside of the rear wing of Håkon in P3, but it's a group of 5 at the front at the moment. Jared Irvine just over 1 second behind. He's just out of draft range. Hopefully he can put together a good lap, clean lap, and pull himself back up towards John and make it a battle of 6 at the front.
Yeah, that's right. Then a bit further back, you got Kevin Henderson, who's just getting out of draft range of Simon Dopp, having another run in the top split, well inside the Monday Night Lights points this evening. So that'll do his overall championship hopes no harm at all. Ben Snell charged up 6 positions off the grid from not setting that qualification time. He's currently sitting in P9. He's not confident in his pace here, speaking to him prior to the race, but certainly looked like he's making a charge through the field. Setting some good times there, enough to get him certainly up 6 positions so far and looking to make a good fist of it tonight there, Tim.
Yeah, I caught up with Ben earlier as well, and he said not that he doesn't enjoy qualifying, but he tends to throw away a good lap with a little bit of sideways activity. And if you're using all the track here and that little bit sideways, chances are that you're going to throw the back of the car off the track and pick up that 1X, which I'm sure is what Ben did through quali. That is how he likes to drive. So he's done really nicely though. P9 at the moment, I think he is, and right up under Simon's rear wing. He's looking pretty good to gain a handful of positions past Simon and Hendo and make his way up to Jared, I think is what his intent is at this stage.
Yeah, but interesting to see how he goes. Interesting to see the pace comparison between him and Simon just in front of him. Simon, as I said, has been going great guns majority of the season in the second split. He's got his opportunity tonight in the top split, and he's just in front of one of ANZ's premier pace-wise drivers, and certainly had some great results in recent times as he ducks in the inside of turn 1 now to make that pass stick. Simon perhaps thinking discretion the better part of valour at this stage in the race, and Ben looking on to his next charge as we jump back up the front. Might focus up the front here. There's a bit more wheel-to-wheel action going on up here there with Anthony Catt really ranging up the inside. These guys, it's Bill Fraser, even amongst all this action, still managing to hang on. I'm surprised in these sort of situations earlier in the season, Bill's been able to skate away, but not so much tonight, whether it be the strength of the draft or just the quality of the guys behind him. He hasn't been able to skip away as yet, and we're still racing hard in this pack of fight, Tim.
Yeah, he is, and it is a tough place to get away, but also that draft is so effective. You can really ruin your opponent's run into a section or into a corner. Yeah, by sticking the nose up the inside or trying to work your way around the outside as they take the natural line through the corner, really hitting the apex. But there's plenty of corners where you can maintain that little bit more speed and work your way around the outside. And we haven't seen it yet, but I'm sure we'll see it later in the race. Plenty of those opportunities, they'll present themselves, and we'll see some great moves take place.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see what happens. We'll drive on board here at the end of the long back Bentley straight through Brundle, now through that tricky right-hander Nelson there as we hop on board with Håkon Grebstad now as he goes around bomb hole here into this sweeping right-hander that is the penultimate corner in Coram. It's a nice flowing corner, but then there's this jarring left-hander at Murray's to finish the lap. A really tricky series of corners the last few there. Look at them nice and sweetly through there. Beautiful run by the front pack there, Tim.
Yeah, it was. And just talking about Nelson, I was on board with Håkon, and he picked up a bit of inside curb, and it's quite a tall curb. Likely to pick up a bit of wing damage if he keeps that up. But it really does compromise your run up through the bomb hole and through Coram on the way to Murray's. But Håkon's managed to keep his wits about himself, and he got a good run along the front straight there as he pulls up the inside of Enzo. Takes the preferred line, hits the apex nice and clean, and takes P2 from Enzo.
Yeah, fantastic. It was all Enzo now defending from Anthony Catt there in P4, but Enzo had a shot at Bill through turn 1. Bill closed the door on him, and that put Enzo offline and gave Håkon a wonderful run there into the hairpin at Montreal and made a lovely pass, as you say. Now they're heading out the back section of this track. Enzo having another look up the inside. Goes deep under brakes, less than optimal line. And this is, I'll tell you what, Bill Fraser will be licking his lips at this sort of action. He has to fend the first corner, and then it's all on behind him, and every chance to skip away at this track there, Tim.
Yeah, they're the opportunities Bill's looking for. A bit of mingling at the back, someone chucking the nose up the inside, and all. I mean, it just takes one compromised run, and particularly into this big long straight they're about to, the Bentley straight they're about to go up onto. Now, if your run's compromised and you're 8, 9 tenths in front, chances are that you're going to just weave a little bit, try and break the draft, and a good run through Brundle and Nelson, and you'll have broken it. And that's all she wrote. Bill would be away, but looks like Enzo's just inside draft range. Is the takes that left-hander nice and clean, gets a good run through Nelson, clips a bit of the curb, pops the front wheel up in the air, but hasn't cost him any time as they go through the bomb hole now. And Enzo's just managing to hang on, and Bill, I think he'll rue what was a good opportunity to break the draft. Didn't have a poor lap, but the guys behind him sort of put it together quite well after having lost quite a bit of time early in the piece.
Yeah, that's right. It's interesting. Oh, Hawk on a big bit of curb as they run through Murray's for the tail end of lap 5 there. The car really bouncing around. Might have softened the suspension a bit to counter to some of the high curbs here this week. Who knows? But interesting to see that Bill Fraser hasn't been able to really drive away from these guys. We've seen in previous weeks where he's just been able to give it half a chance to drive away. Just makes me wonder. I mean, he only qualified P3 here. Behind both Enzo and Hawkon. It'd be interesting to see if he's got pace over the longer term, because certainly a couple of guys have shown they've got pace over a lap here, Tim.
Yeah, and I think Enzo and Hawkon, who both did the prior race and showed particularly good pace. I think they've got their setups really tuned in nicely for the end of the race. Those last handful of laps in a car that is still neutral handling and not too aggressive and not too taily. So keen to see what will happen, but it's a group of 5 at the front at the moment. Anthony and John bringing up P4 and 5, and those two will be thrilled to still be part of this lead group, as it looks like Hendo and Jared Irvine P6 and 7 at the moment, about 4 or so seconds back. But Bill, another good run through these sections of corners as he pulled a small gap on Enzo, but again only looks like 5 or 6 tenths, not really enough to do anything with as they go through Oggies and Williams leading up to the Bentley Straight as they enter now. Going to say that gap's probably 5 tenths or so. Probably going to be 3 at the end of this straight as they work their way up to Brundle. And Billy's making a good fist of it through the infield, just not getting enough of a gap to break the draft along that main straight.
Yeah, that's it. They all close up now as they head through Nelson there. We're coming up to half race distance. These guys had better have a think about what they want to do in the second half of the race, because if they keep carrying on like this, look, Bill is edging just that little bit further away each lap, and was up to 7 tenths prior to that run down the Bentley Straight. They only caught up a couple of tenths, and by the time they've gone through the remainder of the infield section to close out the lap, he's back up to 6 tenths. So, they better have some serious thinking about this strategy. What started out lap 1 as being some pretty smart racing, by the end of it, they might lose their chance at the race. We know Enzo, for example, he likes to be in front of whoever he's racing with, and he looks like he's closed the gap up again. Looks like Bill might be struggling through the first part of the lap, and Enzo right up on his tail again now, with in turn Hawkon Grebstad in P3 right up on his tail as well, as they head around the start of the second half of this race, Tim.
Yeah, just on board with Billy. Got particularly sideways through Montreal, turn 2 of this track, and really cost himself a lot of time. So he hasn't gained any advantage through the infield as Enzo runs particularly close right up under the rear wing. May have even made some contact. No damage for either car, but they got very, very close to each other. And I think Hawkon even had to check up too, but Anthony far enough back to have not had his run impacted. It looks like we're about to lose John Scholz off the back, actually. He's just on 1 second behind. Hopefully he can hang on. He's put in a great effort so far to be part of this lead group. But Bill's dragging him away. He's particularly quick through these sections of corners, all those right-handers. But he's only got 3 tenths on Enzo at the moment, who's probably going to try and pull up up alongside him and make a move into Brundle, I expect.
Yeah, look, I'm just going to jump back. I'm trying to find Mick Gray's had an incident that's found him in the pits. Just trying to find what happened there. He's in a battle where it took place there.
Contact up the front.
Contact up the front. All right.
Contact up the front. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, Mick got turned around. Yeah,
Bill and Enzo wanted to go too wide through Brundle and Nelson and came together. Enzo's back in third with wing damage. All right. And Hawkon skipped a place.
Let's jump back up, and so we saw what happened to Mickey. Got turned there. Well, we might jump a little bit before that and see if we can't get a bit of a tighter shot on. I think it was Enzo that was in the thick of that. Just seeing as they come in at the end of the longest straight here. Ends up the inside. That's such a tough move to make through there. Turns back in. There's a car on his inside. Bit of contact. And yeah, Enzo left to hang out to dry there. Hawk on. Big grin all over his face there. Potentially his rivals both with damage there. And he'll be looking to make a strong fist of it from there, Tim.
Yeah, he will, and unfortunately for Bill, I mean, I think Enzo was a little bit unlucky, did nothing wrong. His line was reasonable. Bill was particularly narrow and caught the inside curb, which pushed him wide. Really lifted the front inside wheel off the ground pretty high, and that pushed him, I'd say, a metre wider than he thought that he'd take through that corner ordinarily and hit Enzo. But Enzo's getting around okay at the moment. Not too much damage, nothing like that. It's all looking reasonable. But the front couple of guys, looks like Bill's car's pretty clean, but Hawk on and Enzo definitely have front wing damage, which may compromise them a little bit through these the infield through Agostini, Hamilton, Oggies and so on. But they're all hanging in there pretty good at the moment. But Bill's looking racy, of course. I think he's going to be a little bit more comfortable that Hawkon's behind him, and Hawkon is a very sensible driver. Won't take any risks until it is absolutely necessary. And you know, we're on lap 8 now, but I don't expect to see Hawkon do anything at all risky until lap 11 or 12, and it really comes down to the crunch. But Bill's looking pretty good out in front at the moment, in control for the time being, as we go through the left-hander of Brundle into Nelson, where Bill caught the curb earlier on, clean as a whistle this time. Great run out onto the exit, and very nice and smooth through there, Alex.
Yeah, look, it was really interesting. I saw Enzo putting up the inside of Brundle at the end of the Bentley Straight there, and really, you know, forcing that compromise in Bill's line, which led him to be, as you say, so narrow on Nelson there, and ultimately the contact was caused. I remember, Enzo really getting loose and trying to use every bit of the circuit and more to regain his higher spot on the podium. He's got a hard-charging Anthony Catt behind him, as well as Hawkon now ducking right up behind and swinging out to the wide line on Bill Fraser there, in through turn 1 there at Riches, and down into Montreal on the start of lap 9 of 12 here, folks. Just under 4 laps remaining now in this, what is shaping up to be a pretty spectacular race overall, because not only have we got a pack of 5, we've only really had the couple of incidents to speak of. Everyone really keeping their nose clean and just trying to wrestle with this, what is quite a challenging circuit, wouldn't you say, Tim?
Yeah, it is, and I think it's easy to look at it and say, oh, that looks pretty straightforward, but it's just not the case. There's hundredths to gain here, a tenth to gain there, just through having really nice, clean lines, and obviously the straights are long, and maintaining really good corner speeds key to doing a nice lap round here. And it's just not as easy to put together as one might think. It takes a lot of nice, clean laps to really put together a good race. But looks like Bill and Hawkon have got a small gap over Enzo. Not sure if he was checked up, had an issue, but Anthony's certainly putting some pressure on him at the moment. And these two, are they going to work together? It wouldn't surprise me if they slipstream in tandem to pull that gap over Enzo. Just over a second at the moment. It's going to be tough for him to bridge that.
Yeah, Anthony Catt pulling up to the inside of the Bentley Straight now on the run down to Brundle. Enzo not really offering too much by way of defence there, although he pulls into the racing line as they head through Nelson now towards the bomb hole. Anthony Catt licking his lips at his opportunities here, and once again John Scholtz back on this pack of what is 3 now, as the front two tend to race away with it, as it were. And again, really impressed with the drive of John Scholtz here tonight. He's done a fantastic job, and I'm sure this will be his first top 5 position result in the top split, depending on how the results finish out there. Bill Fraser, though, he's defending up front from Hawkon Group, so taking the right-hand side of the driver's right-hand side of the track. As they come up on a lap car here, it'll be interesting to see what happens. Hawkon swinging out, not wanting to make it too wide, but still compromising Fraser's line enough to slow him down perhaps, and as they come up on Mick Gray, languishing a lap down here now as they come into Montreal now, and at the start of lap 10, Tim.
Yeah, Mick, I'm sure he'll do the right thing though and pop out of the way. Is there? It's a carport over on the left-hand side. Is that Jorge Contreras Jr.? He looks to have stumbled into the off-track area with a bit of damage, no front wing. Don't know what he's doing. Might have blown an engine, who really knows, but Mick Gray up front, not up front, he's a lap down almost, but he is in front of Bill and Hawkon at the moment. as they approach to within a second. I'm sure he'll do the right thing, pull over when the time comes, or they may even catch him on the Bentley straight. But he's a good driver with plenty of experience, and he'll do the right thing and allow these two behind him to carry on their merry way. And I think Hawkon's probably looking forward to Bill's run being slightly compromised and getting a better run along that back straight through to Brundle, where he can hopefully make the move.
Yeah, absolutely. Mick is a very sensible racer, great guy to race with as he pulls over to the right, as you predicted. And he, of course, factor trivia, I might have mentioned it before, he won the very first Monday Night Lights race, and great to see him back in the top split. He's had a bit of a rugged run in the last couple of seasons, but great to see him back here, although the results are probably not going the way he would have liked tonight. Certainly doing the right thing and making room for the leaders as they came by. Hawkon and Bill Fraser now making the running, as it were, and continuing to do so. Hopping back to that second pack, they're also coming up to lap Mick Gray. Enzo Kander on the front of that. He's got back past Anthony Catt. I think he did that while we were watching the front guys, obviously, and he's now, as they go through the final corner, about to cross the start-finish line with just the 2 laps remaining as they go across this time. It looks like up front now, Hawkon again swinging out to driver's left to try and make the running in turn 1. It's really interesting to see where he's going to make his move, because, as you say, he's pretty smart when it comes to this sort of thing, leaving his run till the very end. But I haven't seen an opportunity where he's got the pace and the run thus far to this point about where he might make that move stick. As once again we passed George, pulled over to the left there with just over 1.5 laps remaining there, Tim.
Yeah, Bill's looking pretty good at the moment. Certainly using the one tracks when they present himself, as Hawkon drives very, very wide through the left-hander of Palmer. But those two looking to gain every little bit of time they can at the moment. A healthy gap over the second group, 2.3 seconds or thereabouts, as Enzo maintains control of that pack at the moment. Interestingly, their jostling has allowed them to back up a little bit, and I'm going to say Kevin Henderson is not too far. Jared Irvine is not too far behind at the moment. He and Hendo were looking closer than they were earlier, and I think they probably fancy themselves. Apologies. The car behind is Mick Gray. Is a small gap, 4 or 5 seconds back to Henderson and Jared Irvine. But Bill Fraser and Hawkon going down the Bentley straight at the moment, very, very close. Hawkon, I think he fancied his chances, but chose to sit in the slipstream, didn't pull out, and I think he's saving his run for the last lap. Really, I think Bill's protecting the line beautifully through the main straight in through Riches, and it's very unlikely that there'll be an opportunity to pass until the Bentley straight. But I've seen Hawkon do some amazing things in his time, and also Bill runs very wide, particularly sideways. His run's going to be compromised, and Hawkon might see this as the opportunity to slip up the inside.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Why don't we hop on board Hawkon now as we cross the line now for the final lap to begin. Hawkon once again pulling over to the left. Bill covering the line now. Narrow through there. Now, can he get the run down into Montreal? What's going to happen here is Bill staying wide, leaving the door open. Is Hawkon? No, he's not going to take the line there. Maybe he's going to leave his run to the Bentley. We saw Hawkon... I beg your pardon, Enzo put pressure on Bill through there and perhaps put Bill well and truly out of his comfort zone, and an incident ensued, it has to be said. So Hawkon must be wary of that, of course, but really looking to put pressure all over the back of Bill now on this final lap, Tim.
Yeah, and he's got to put together a very good infield here to get close enough and have a very nice run, obviously, through Williams and that run onto the Bentley straight. If he's more than 4/10, I don't think he's going to have the pace to get it done. You need a lot of momentum through that section, and he's pretty close at the moment. He's driving very smart. Only 2/10 behind. Perhaps going to run a little bit wide here. No, different line through that right-hander section of boggies as they go through Williams now. Both drivers very nice clean apex. Use all the ripple strip on the outside and the run onto Bentley. I think Bill's going to have this one covered. He's weaving, kept to the left, across to the right, and I don't think Hawkon's going to have the pace, the momentum to get up the inside here.
Was showing the nose, taking the tighter line. That's the line they've both been taking pretty much throughout. Oh, Hawkon running deep there. He's cost himself through through Nelson there. Question is Enzo ranging up behind? Probably not close enough. But that, folks, is that. That was Hawkon giving it everything into the final couple of corners there, and it's cost him perhaps the race win, but the race win tonight looks like it'll go to Bill Fraser as he comes through the final corner now at Murray's to take another win in Monday Night Lights here for round 11 at Snetterton. Your series leader in Hawkon currently finishes in second. Enzo Canada looking to cross the line third in front of a hard-charging Anthony Catt. We're just jumping down the order. John Scholtz, a celebratory let go of the engine there in P5. He looks pretty happy. Look, he's given the car what for there as the remainder of your field starts crossing the line there, Tim. Looks like Hawkon gave it everything, but just didn't quite have enough to grab the chocolates here tonight.
No, he didn't, and disappointing for him. As I said, that run onto the back straight's absolutely key, and he couldn't quite make it happen. But he'll be disappointed about that, but he gave it everything, and really at the end of the day, mate, that's all you can ask for. But interestingly, worthwhile jumping on board with Kevin Henderson as he ran through Brundle side by side with Rd11. A very good replay to catch, as neither of those two drivers gave each other any room at all, and cost themselves, or certainly cost Hendo, a number of positions. And he finished in P10 after sitting in P6 for the better half of the race.
Yeah, just jumping back to check out that replay now on board with Kevin Henderson there as they head down the back straight. He's come under the bridge there on the inside. Tougher line to take through there. Oh, and the 11 car's really just turned in on him there, Rd11, and that's really just turned Kevin around. He was perhaps not expecting that to take place. He was certainly side by side. I didn't catch the angle of his entry so much, but yeah.
Look, I'm going to put that one back on Hendo. I've got to say that his entry is particularly wide, and that Jared's done everything correctly, in my opinion, and Kevin was well and truly over a car width right of where he needed to be to make their way through Brundle side by side. Unlucky for him. It is a racing incident, but one that certainly could have been avoided. Obviously cost him a handful of points tonight, unfortunately.
Yeah, just looking, there's an apex there over on the left that he could probably fit two cars, or at least 1.5 on the inside there. Unfortunate there for Kevin. Certainly not how he would like to have finished his race. But look, that's a really, I've got to tell you, I reckon that's one of the hardest combinations in iRacing, that series of corners in through Brundle into Nelson. I certainly haven't got its number yet, and can certainly understand why other people have trouble through there. And again, I go back and say that people practicing your offline runs as much as your hot lapping on the racing line can serve you in good stead, and that's perhaps another example. We saw a couple actually, Bill Fraser and Enzo Canada coming together, and then another one there with Kevin Henderson and Rd11. But certainly you don't want to see those sort of incidents happen, but it's part of racing, you know. Sometimes it's just not possible to practice every little bit of black stuff on the track, but why don't we move on and check out our results here tonight for round 11 of the Monday Night Lights. Bill Fraser, making a name for himself this season, finishes in P1 after starting in P3. Great drive from him. Hawkon Grebstad, really, look, I'll tell you now, that'll give him some points and improve on one of the rounds that he's had earlier in the season, so he's still in with a hunt. As we go into the final race next week for this season, those two, Bill and Hawkon, they'll be putting on a show, and one of them will walk home with the coveted Monday Night Lights trophy. Enzo Cantor, he's finished in third tonight. Great race from him. Really pushed the pace and pushed the limits, as it were, and still managed to hang on to third. A fantastic drive from him. Another drive, a great drive tonight. Anthony Catt in P4. He's done great tonight. We were talking about him just before the race as being a chance here tonight, and he drove, I've got to tell you, out of his skin to keep up with the likes of the front three. Well done to Anthony. And John Scholtz driving out of his skin for possibly what would be, I think, his best result in the Monday Night Lights. Well done, Scholtzy. Rd11, after that last lap incident with Kevin Henderson, has finished in P6. Ben Snell charged up, what did he end up? 8 positions tonight to counter a poor qualifying there in P7. Tom Barry from UK&I in P8. Simon Dobb, well inside the MNL points because we score all the way down to P12 there. Putting on a great display in his run in the top split tonight there in P9. Kevin Henderson, after that last lap incident, dropping down a few spots, probably disappointingly for him in P10 tonight. Joseph Falcamato, welcome return to Monday Night Lights in P11. Brad Park and another series regular rounding out your top 12 Monday Night Lights point scoring positions. Isaac Olive from Iberia in P13. Jason Willman not making as many positions as he might usually do, from starting from the rear as he tends to do without qualifying in P14. James Hauser, Mick Gray and George George Jr. He's finished in P17. Those three guys all managed, unfortunately, a trip to the pits, or at least James and Mick did. George, he, for reasons only known to him, pulled over to the side and thought better of his race. Perhaps he got a late call up. But that's for a tale for another time, perhaps. Tim, what do you make of these results, mate? It was a pretty good race, I thought.
I got to say, I think George probably pulled over to watch the last handful of laps between Bill and Hawkon. But it was a good race, and I don't want to rub it in, but I got to say my prediction of Bill taking the win tonight was a correct one. And no, it was close at the front, and that's the way we like it, And obviously we touched on the incident between Jared and Kevin as well, and if these guys weren't sort of trying to push the envelope in the little skip Barber and race close and race hard, then they wouldn't be putting on a show, and we wouldn't have anything worth televising. So those incidents do happen, and at the end of the day, it was a good race, and these things happen from time to time, So, but clean as up the front at the end of the day, and Bill, Hawkon, Enzo, Anthony, and John, that lead group did a great job, and I'm sure John, who for me probably put in the performance of the night tonight with his best place that I can remember, I'm sure he'd be chuffed to be less than 4 seconds behind Bill at the end of the race tonight. A very good result, and one that the Venom boys will be, I think they'll be cracking a few bevies later on. That's for sure.
That's right. Yeah, great drive from Scolty tonight. Really impressed with that. Congratulations to him and to Team Venom. Now we've got Mr. Cantor waiting for us in the green room. We might try and pull him up and have a chat. If I can just grab him there. Enzo Cantor, Alex McKellar here from the RRTV commentary booth. Great to see you back, mate. Looks like you were into this race up to your eyeballs, mate. Looked like a fun and a challenging race out there tonight, mate. How did you find it?
Hi, guys. This track is not my favorite one at all, and I didn't knew very well the track, and I had not enough time to practice and to learn really the technique to do in the correct way all the corners. So I was not fast as I would. But in qualify, I missed the second lap because of an off track, but I was quiet because race is long, and there is so much draft, no. But then I was battling with Bill, that is very fast and aggressive. But you look at the replay. I don't know. I was watching a replay now while he was making me the question, so I didn't finish to watch it. But he said in the public chat during the race after that contact that was classic Enzo Lul, but that was only an insult, because I was clearly in my line on the outside, and he jumped over the curb and the ruined of my car, damaging my front wing and my race. So no chances for me to win the race, and not funny from him, as the wiggling on over the straight, because in order to push me out of the draft.
Yeah, look, it was a shame. I saw the incident. I do recall. I don't know about the comments that he made, but certainly from my perspective, heading up that back straight there as you did, up the Bentley straight into Brundle there, you put pressure up the inside, and which is, puts him on a very challenging line, which is, a pretty good tactic actually. And we were commenting during the race that it put him on a very narrow line into that really challenging right-hander that is Nelson, and that narrow line, he's hit the curb and bounced out, and there was contact, and that's pretty much all there was to it. I reckon it's one of, if not the most challenging series of corners in iRacing, and just goes to show that, if you haven't done your homework offline, you can end up with yourself in a bit of trouble, mate. I thought it was a racing incident, and I thought it was good tactics to put your opponent off, and just an unfortunate racing incident in my books, mate. But it certainly made for good viewing, and I thought you put on a really fantastic show, mate. And certainly for someone who says he doesn't know the track too well, of course this is a new track in iRacing, relatively speaking, and understandable that you might not have the full run of it yet. I thought you drove really well. And certainly, I don't know if you had much damage towards the end, but certainly had a good fight with Anthony Catt in the latter stages, mate. And hopefully that was enough to make the night a bit of fun.
Yeah, I understand what are you saying, but the problem is it's a racing contact. It can happen, and no problem at all, because he didn't obviously hit on purpose. He did a little mistake because he could be very narrow on the curb without hitting it and without jumping on it. Because I did this corner side by side with other drivers without any contacts, but he did a mistake. The problem is that he said in the public chat that it was a classic Enzo move. I don't know what he was speaking about, but I think I consider it an insult, and I'm waiting for his apologize. I wrote him in PM, and I'm interested to know what team think about it.
Well, Tim, there's a question for you, mate. What's your thought on it?
Thanks very much, mate. Put me under the spotlight. My God. No, I agree. I think Bill, he did hit the apex, and that pushed him a tiny bit wider than he would have liked. But it's a tough corner, and personally, in my experience, I'd be a little more reluctant to pop my nose up the inside of that section with a number of laps to go, because there's really nothing to gain until, that's a move I would have saved for the final lap, personally.
I agree.
So
but
it's
the problem. I sure, but you didn't answer the question, because I know it's a racing contact, no problem. The problem is that it was clearly an insult, because he could not admit his mistake. So this is the question, not the problem, not the contact. I could be more careful, surely, because I could wait for the end of the race. But I was trying to making him pressure, because I was trying to forcing him to make a mistake. He did a mistake, and he damaged my car. So no problem. I took the risk, and I'm 40 years old, so I can take my risk and assume my responsibilities. But I think so many here cannot do this one, and can also say Enzo move every time.
That's it, mate. So good to see your attitude on that, mate, because not everyone walks away with a smile from something like that, and we're interested to see if Bill comes back to you on it, mate. But thank you once again for your support of the series. We do really appreciate you coming out when you can, and work permitting. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to before we let you go, mate?
Yes, sure. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. I have to say thank you to my team, Ivano Racing, my team manager, Fabio Mantellini, all my sponsors, and my teammates. We are preparing the 12 hours of Watkins Glen on 2 June, and we are hoping to do a very good result. It will be a very hard and stressful race, but we are preparing it.
Yeah, and preparations where things are won and lost more often than not, mate. So hopefully that'll work out really well for you. But thanks again for joining us, mate, and we look forward to seeing you on track next time.
Thank you, guys. Bye, Alex and Tim.
See you, mate.
There you have it, folks. Mr. Enzo Cantor. Of course, there's, drivers will be drivers, right? Races will be races, and I think we've got the move coming up here on screen now. As a matter of fact, although no, that's a previous lap. Enzo was on the inside. I've called it wrong early, but yeah. Anyway, as I was trying to get out there, oh look, there you go. Enzo did get it right up the inside there when the roles were reversed. That's quite interesting, and perhaps he's got more of a point than Bill was letting on. But I tend to agree with you, Tim, that might be a move at that particular point on the track that might be left better in the later in the race.
Yeah, we've all done it before, though. You think, we reflect on the race. It didn't quite go to plan, and what could I have done differently? Well, I didn't go for the win on lap one, and or if you do go for the win on lap one and you bury it, you can't be too upset, can you? Like it kind of serves you right. But one of those things, I don't mind a bit of cheek as well. I hope it's tongue in cheek on Bill's behalf, But at the end of the day, I think Bill copped a little bit of inside curb, and that was it. It pushed him wide. But you're right, those two did go side by side with Enzo on the inside. And having said that, I think Bill gave Enzo more room than Enzo gave to Bill when the roles were reversed. But it's a racing incident for me. And I think if Bill watches the replay, he'll be like, oh, crap, I could have done that a little bit better. And one of those things, So.
Yeah, mate, I'm on board with you with that too. Now, let's bring up our second place getter here tonight, Mr. Håkon Grebstad. We normally go in finishing order, but Enzo was waiting in there and Håkon was a bit late, so we'll bring him up and see what the young man's got to say for himself. Good evening, Mr. Grebstad. Alex McKellar and Tim Gorkrotch are here, mate. P2 is a pretty good result. Well, very good result for you here tonight. The only, I guess, downside is your championship rival, Bill Fraser, was the one guy in front of you, mate. How was the racing?
Oh, it was great. The racing was amazing. It was good hard racing all race. Not sure what really happened between Bill and Enzo, but Enzo kind of dropped off the back, and I let Bill just, control the show until the last lap, and I just couldn't make it.
Yeah, it looked like a nice hard race up front, putting a little pressure here and there, and had you crack. As Mr. Gorkrotcher predicted in the last lap or so, didn't quite go to plan there, put a lot of pressure and ran a bit wide. But, you got to have a go in those circumstances. So full pumped here tonight, mate. Not only did you finish second, but you grabbed pole as well. So well done, mate. I hope it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was great fun. And, it's not every track where I'm able to hang on to Bill, so it's check in my book.
Yeah,
it's good.
Yeah, 100%. Well, it all comes down to next week now, because Bill's he can't afford to score 0 points. I think after this you'll still probably have the running of it, to be honest. And next week's race will really decide it. Are you looking forward?
Oh man, it's going to be exciting. Although I don't know Brands Hatch very well, so it might not go so well.
Well, we'll wait and see. Well, I was surprised because Bill, he's from the UK. I would have thought he had a bit of an inside running, at least at Snetterton, but certainly at Brands Hatch, I would expect him to be pretty quick. So I imagine you'll need to do a bit of prep during the week, mate.
Yeah, home track advantage. We've got something to work on.
Yeah, that's it. Well, mate, before we let you go, did you want to give a shout out to any one of your legion of followers there?
Well, not really. You guys, of course, doing this thing every Monday, which is awesome. And just want to say, Tim, I heard your little prediction. You didn't believe in me.
I wouldn't say that. I just believe in Bill more.
That's a nice way to put it.
Nah, you know how tough he is to not necessarily like he protects the line beautifully.
Yeah, he does.
So he's very, very good at it, and that it's a trait not everyone has, and he certainly has it. And any opportunity there was that even if you had a compromise run, he still found a way to cover you off, sort of thing. So he certainly knows what he's doing in this skippy, and it wasn't through a lack of outright pace that I felt Bill would probably have the wood on everyone tonight. Not to say his racecraft is better, but he knows he's very good at positioning that car. So, but one thing I will say is, I think you drove around the outside of Enzo on turn 2 once,
Yeah, I think.
and that was really impressive. A very, very nice move. And I didn't see that enough tonight. Just saying, but when you did do it, it was pretty good, mate. So well done. And P2 is a good result. And hopefully, look, you got 7 days to practice. I don't want to hear any excuses about why you might not win next week. There's heaps of time.
12-hour to practice for as well.
It's not important, mate. The 12-hour is irrelevant. The Monday Night Lights Series Championship is where it's at. And it'd be an honour for me to hand that perpetual trophy over to you.
Yeah, I'll be there.
Awesome.
See how it goes.
Awesome. All right, mate. Thanks again. Congrats on the result, mate. And we're all waiting with bated breath to see how it pans out next week.
Yeah, it'll be exciting. Thanks, guys.
Awesome. Thanks, mate.
See ya.
All right. I think we should... we've got a couple left in the green room. I think we should pull up what I imagine is a very happy camper in John Scholtz and see what he's got to say for his top 5 finish, if he's not already chatting to his teammate there in the green room. Let's see how we go. Mr. Scholtz, Alex McKellar and Tim Gorkrotch are here, mate. Well, what a race. Am I right in saying that that's your first top 5 in a Monday Night Lights appearance, mate?
Evening, gentlemen. Yeah, first top 5. I think I had a P6 before at Kota, so, moving up the ladder.
Yeah, brilliant, mate. It was great to see, once I got my training paint sorted, that we got the great team, Venom Racing team, I beg your pardon, livery on the well, we've got it on the big screen at the moment, mate, doing the team proud there in P5. How did you find the racing out there? Looks like you almost got dropped there at one point, but there was a bit racy up front and gave you the opportunity to get back on.
Yeah, I mean, the guys in front were quicker, most definitely over a lap. But yeah, them fighting a bit just brought myself and Anthony back into it. And then they dropped me again and fought again and brought me back into it. So happy to have the draft pulling me around. I was waiting for an incident in front, just to try and get a place. But yeah, ecstatic about finishing 5th.
Yeah, that's awesome, mate. That's a fantastic drive too. I mean, we don't see the participation that we do at some other tracks here, and the strength of field was in the top 5 of the week, which is always very pleasing to see. But certainly, the top end of town that you were racing there, and Bill Fraser, Hawken Grebstad, Enzo Kander, and Anthony Catt, mate. There's some quick guys in there, some of the quickest in this car. So to be right up with them there all the way to the end is really impressive, mate. So congratulations on that. Tim, did you have anything you'd like to ask John while he's here?
No, the only thing I've probably got to add, mate, and obviously congratulations on the good result, is that the first time you like I got to say, I think you commented just a second ago that you hoped there were an incident in front of you. And I got to say, early in my career, I probably felt the same way, and not wanting to get too involved, not super comfortable to race close. And these, the good finishes that you string together from, your first really good result, and P5 tonight's a killer effort. That's fantastic. But, they're confidence builders. And no doubt this is the first of many good finishes in the Monday Night Lights and the Skip Barber series in general that you'll have in the future. And no doubt we'll see you mixing it on the podium pretty soon.
Yeah, cheers, mate. Just keeping on pushing. And, I think it's from a few of the races in the week, a bit of contact going into that little left-right hander off the straight that maybe dented my confidence into trying to push for an overtake. But yeah, I'll take what I have.
Yeah, mate. No, you'd be chuffed. It was a great result. P5's terrific. Yeah. And obviously you qualied well too. P4, you certainly got the pace around here. And to finish within 4 seconds of Bill as well is an outstanding result. And yeah, mate, you'd be pretty pleased. Well done.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm going to print out this result, frame it, hang it on my wall. And when I get a better one, I'll take that one down and put up a new one.
There's some motivation for you, eh? That's great. That's fantastic. Yeah, another one who agrees with me. That Brundle-Nelson complex, very tough tonight. All right, John, thank you once again for joining us here tonight. Great to see you supporting the series out there on track each week, and really pleased that you got such a fantastic result, mate. So congratulations, and we look forward to seeing you for the final round next week.
Cheers, boys. Thank you. And just a quick thank you to the Venom team. We got a second place in the second split as well. Go Team Venom.
Yeah, awesome work. Thanks, John. Thanks to Team Venom for their support of the series as well. And like I said, mate, big one next week. Hope to see you there.
Cheers, boys.
There you go. Just one left. Congratulations to John once again. Really happy for him. He's a great guy and a fantastic result, and good to see him out on track tonight. From one Team Venom racer to another, I'll bring up Les Peck, who's he's had an unfortunate evening after being third in the championship last week. Prior to last week's race, I should say, he had a bit of a dud run last week, and he's got some points this week, but I don't know how he'll feel about that. Mr. Les Peck, Alex McKellar here, along with Tim Gorkrocher. Welcome to the RRTV commentary booth. Looks like a bit of a tough race for you down there in P11, mate. Although Tony Dibden in P1, Mark Jeffrey, one of your teammates there, as John Scholz has just pointed out, in P2, and Simon Chambers, Australasian Super Skips organiser and owner, in P3. How was the racing for you around here at Snetterton tonight, mate?
Evening, gents. Yeah, not my night, but yeah, it was a really good result for Mark. It was good to see him get up there in the second place. And from what I could see, I was looking at the standings, just cruising around after I had a incident that Simon, Mark, and Jason were all racing really hard, and definitely had a really good race between the three of them.
Yeah, fantastic, mate. Shame for you. I think I was just saying a couple of weeks ago you're on top of the world in P3. I think you're down a couple at the moment, maybe in P6 if memory serves. Hang on, I'll just pull up the scores.
Yeah, I'm down to P6.
Down to P6. Couple of points here tonight. Ben Seidel, I'll get it right one day, Ben. He didn't turn up tonight, so this might be... Yeah, well, you got more than 3 points, so you might be able to jump back up to P5, but get in that top 5 there, depending on how the drop rounds play out, mate. But that's something to play for at least. Now, while you're here to talk about something else as well. You've got a charity race coming up for childhood cancer there called Race for Life. Do you want to give some of our viewers at home some details about that, mate?
Yeah, it's going to be in 2 weeks on June the 10th, which I found out is the Queen's birthday weekend. So might not be the best weekend to do it, but that's the weekend. It's going to probably open at 6:30 for the gates for practice. It's going to be a race between the Mazdas and the Skips, the MX-5s, and quali will start at about 8:30, a 10-minute 3-lapper, and then a race for an hour. Might make it an hour and 20 minutes just to even out the hour.
Yeah, beautiful. Well, that sounds like a really fun event. I know I've done a mixed race with. I think you organised it. As a matter of fact, the Skippies and the Mazdas previously. Was that the previous charity event that you ran, mate?
No, we done that for fun in the enduro skips while we were all on break.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah.
The last one I done was the Smith family one, which was at Christmas time, and that was the Renaults, the Pro Mazda, and the Indy by memory.
Yeah, Le Mans, that's right. That was a ton of fun, folks. The mixed category racing, you can find guys in different positions based on their skill in the different cars, because one will invariably be a little bit quicker than the other, and it all depends on what people like to do. I know Mr. Gorkrocher and I chose the MX-5s in that race around Silverstone against the Skippies, and we were a little bit done from pace here and there, but it was fun mixing it up and hard to spot some of the Skippies when you were going side by side with them. So there you go, folks. We're looking at the 10th of June. The Skippies versus the MX-5s. Practice opens at 6:30. Plenty of time to practice for quali at 8:30 for quite a good deal. About an hour and 20 race there. Be a lot of fun. Looking to raise money there for childhood cancer this time. And I know the community really appreciates what you're doing there, Les, and hopefully we can raise a good amount of coin for those kids, mate.
Yeah, it'll be great to get the money to the charity and hopefully, put the money where it needs to be in research and whatnot, and do the right thing, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Good full marks to you for putting that on, mate, and hopefully the both the Skip Barber community and the iRacing community in ANZ in general will get out and support that event. Anyway, mate, before we let you go, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Good job on the Venom boys tonight, and a shout out to Shiro for putting that little poster up for me and making that for me. So cheers, Shiro, and yeah, you guys for doing the RRTV. It's really good to see.
Yeah, beautiful. Thanks, Les. And we look forward to hearing from you next week for the final round and see if you can crack it for that top five, mate.
I love the Brands Hatch GP, so hopefully I can do something with it.
Beautiful. All right, mate. Thanks for joining us again. We'll catch you next week.
Cheers, mate. Catches.
Well, there you have it, Tim. Another fantastic race here at Snetterton for Monday Night Lights. I don't know about you, mate, but I thought that was a really high quality race. A couple of bumps and bruises here and there, but the cream rising to the top. Couple of surprises in that top five, but certainly one for the books, mate.
Yeah, no, it was a pretty good race as always, and you're right, Bill Fraser. He was the chocolate in the fondue, or whatever it might have been. Anyway, he did very well tonight, of course. As we expect from him and Hawkon. I'm sure a little bit disappointed he couldn't put it together on that last lap to put a bit more pressure on Bill, but a good result. And of course, the top five in general, really, really well done. And look, I just want to touch on what Les is doing with the charity race. You're right. We did the Skippy Enduro League in week 13 had the Mazda versus MX-5s, and if I recall correctly, sorry, the Mazdas versus MX-5, the Skippies versus the MX-5s. The MX-5s didn't need to pit, and the Skippies did, and they flogged us. But they had half a minute, something like that, in the pits, and I think I got past on the last lap with only a couple of corners to go, and it was Dennis Fiedler, if I remember correctly. But it was the most fun I've had God knows how long. So save the evening, I think it'll be, of the 10th of June. Put that in your calendar now. It's going to be a great afternoon and really good fun racing and close tight racing. And I'm sure all the good Skippy drivers will get out there. Plenty of Aussies will compete, and I'll certainly be there, Alex. No doubt you will too. And it should be a fantastic afternoon.
Yeah, I was there that night too. It was a ton of fun. It will be a fantastic afternoon. I know that there'll be a bit of handicapping involved too, whether it be from a pit stop or a bit of weight penalty on the remarkably the quicker car being the Skippy, of course. But they're a ton of fun for a great course. So hopefully we'll see plenty of our Monday Night Lights regulars there, both our viewers and our drivers there supporting a great cause. All right, mate, in the week ahead, this week, not much going on the RRTV. Looking at the schedule, Wednesday night, we'll see the Australian Speedway Championships on Charlotte Dirt. Bernie will bring you all the dirt oval action there, which is a ton of fun. They have a bunch of races there, heats and the mains, and it's a lot of fun. Good night out, and then it won't be back until we're here at Monday Night Lights from Brands Hatch for the final round. Really looking forward to that. Bill Fraser head to head with Hawkon Gribstad. See who takes out the title. Tim, but for yourself, what are we expecting in the world of Tim Gorkrocher this week?
Oh, mate, I spent a bit of time on the sim on the weekend, and I'm still recovering. So I don't think I'll have a huge week in the sim. But I don't know if Tim Awim is keen on Monday, but I do like Brands Hatch. And it's been a little while between drinks for me. And, if I can throw a spanner in the works between Bill and Hawkon, I'd be thrilled to.
Oh,
and I'm going to go as far as saying if I can take them both out and get the win, I mean, that'd be satisfying for me. But, there's not too much racing planned at this stage, but I guess there is a chance I'll race on Monday night. So we'll see what happens. But Brands Hatch GP is a good, fun, technical circuit. Lots of blind corners, and it promotes great racing. But no real long straights, so it's challenging to pass, but it is easy to make mistakes. So we'll hopefully get an opportunity to race then and mix it with these boys up the front.
Sounds like you're willing to set the cat amongst the pigeons, which will be very fun to see, of course. Those you don't know, Mr. Gorkrocher is the reigning Monday Night Lights champion and no slouch in these cars. But As for me, folks, I'll be on Twitch this week at Top Split TV. The URL on your screen at the moment. At least on Friday night, if not before, for the Friday Night Race Club, and then the big one, the Bathurst 200 that we do each week in a different car with the Friday Night boys. This week we're in the trucks, or the utes as we call them down this part of the world around Bathurst. If you can imagine 32 laps around Bathurst, the trucks will be a lot of fun, if not carnage. But otherwise, head over to thetopsplit.com and check out all the back catalogue of the podcast episodes. But otherwise, back here on Monday night for the next and final round of Monday Night Lights. But until then, I've been your host, Alex McKellar, and on behalf of Mr. Tim Gorkrotch, we will say farewell. Thank you to everyone for joining us, and ciao for now.